client who is also a French immigrant who moved to the US, and I can help. I'm excited to have, and she will be here shortly. Armelle, are you in? Voila, voila.
Voilà.
Look at you, Summers. This is so funny. For full disclosure, you're probably the only guest that I have who literally live 20 minutes away from me. All my guests are all over.
That is true. And then I always tell the story how we met, where I was waiting for a late train in Grand Central, right? And I heard this voice talking about Poitiers. And I'm like, Poitiers? Nobody knows Poitiers around here. What is this? I looked up Poitiers and I'm like, what? You're from Poitiers? And she's like, yeah, I was, and you said, yeah, I was born there. I'm like, me too. What are the odds?
What are the odds? And literally, you're the only one. I've been living here for 20 years. You're the only one who I know who knows Poitiers, but worse. I mean, the crazy thing is who was born there. So, and here is the connection. And I always say to people, the way you connect with people, specifically in business, is beyond business. Is also about what you share, the value that you share.
Yeah.
Poitiers is a small town, and what is the odd for two immigrants like you and myself to be here in New York?
Oh yeah, I've been here for 25 years, and which is more than half my life at this point. And I've never met anyone who was born in Poitiers but you. So really wild.
Anyway, it is completely wild, and I'm super excited that you're here as my guest. There's so much thing to unpack. I always like for my guests to introduce themselves. I think that you probably would do a better job. I always want to start, well, you already answered the question. Where were you born? You were born in Poitiers.
In Poitiers. So every time people say, where is Poitiers? I say, well, it's kind of Midwest. And they're like, because Brittany, I say it's far west. And Americans like, what? Far west? This is weird. So, but no, Poitiers is Midwest. So if you know La Rochelle, it's about an hour and 45 minutes inland from La Rochelle. So usually that description works.
Oh dear, you're going to, my dear, you're going to too much details. I usually say, do you know Bordeaux? Because most of them know Bordeaux because of the wine. I said, it's an hour and a half from Bordeaux. If you take the TGV, the fast train, it's actually an hour and a half before. Then it makes sense to them.
Right. That's my second go-to response. If La Rochelle doesn't work, then I go to Bordeaux. And I was like, it's 2.5 hours north by car, and by train, an hour and a half. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But otherwise, we're Poitiers people think, like, if you say it's 4 hours south of Paris, they're like, oh, you're near Nice. I'm like, no. No, that far down, no way.
So you were born in Poitiers, which is a very small town that I love. My parents actually were students there. My parents got married there, and I literally grew up there. But Poitiers is a very small town. Poitiers is not Paris. So
No,
from
it's
Poitiers to the US, what happened? How did you get here?
all right. So my first goal was to learn English. So I had two choices. I could go, well, because I didn't think about Australia at that time, So I thought, okay, I can go to the UK or I can go to the States. I thought, well, I'm 18 years old. I might as well just go as far as I can because it's easier to go far when you're young. So that's what I did. And I figured, okay, I'm going to go to the States to learn English and to check out their food habits because, you hear so many things in France about Americans and the way they eat and what they eat. And I was like, I've got to check this out on top of learning English. So I went as an au pair, arrived in New York, was taken by the 1992 kind of New York. It was cool. I loved it.
So you were an au pair. You were an au pair in what town? In New York City?
So first I was in West Simsbury, Connecticut. Then
okay, Connecticut.
In Colchester, and then the family in Colchester moved to West Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay.
Great family. I'm still in touch with them today. Well, with the little girl, and who's now a woman living in Texas. Oh, I was just there. Oops. Okay, should have called her. And then and so I met my now ex-husband. I fell in love, and I went back to France. He came to visit, and then we came back. Well, he came back. Then I came back, and I finished my studies, psychology studies. Graduated.
So you study psychology. So just give us a context. When you came as an au pair, you had graduated already from bachelor or licence, or you just a baccalaureate?
I had my high school exam, and then I came here. Then I went back to school. So I decided to study psychology, and that's what I did with the Université de Reims.
D'accord.
And c'était par correspondance. It was by correspondence. At that time, no computer. You know,
remotely. So you start at that time already. You're already studying remotely.
I was. Can you believe it? But no computer. You know, like you had to wait for the books, and if the books arrived a month and a half late, which happened, and a month and a half left to study, it was really hard. And then there's no one to call because you couldn't call at the time. It was way too expensive. No emails.
Wow, that was a different time.
It makes me feel so old at this point.
What year was that? 93?
It was okay. By that time, it was September 93 until 95, until June 95.
Okay, just a minute. 93, there was already email. It's just that the system, the system was not set up with email.
No, and email was really for universities at that point, you know, like student universities, but I didn't have a computer, you know, I couldn't.
Okay.
So then what did I do? So then I started my studies in France. I really wanted to be with the love of my life, so I came back, and then I kept studying, and I did all kinds of jobs, you know, babysitting, cleaning toilets. I mean, I really did it all.
The life of an immigrant.
Yeah, got fired from those jobs too because I really.
It's okay. Nobody needs to know that. You were just trying. You were trying with degrees.
No, that's the thing. It's like when you come here, you have to have a mindset of, I'm going to do what it takes to make it.
That's right.
And then you said something in one of your posts that was really, really on point, which was you need to be optimistic. And that's what it is. Like, it was really hard, but you know, you just keep going and keep trying and keep searching. And then at the end, so, you know, those jobs obviously just were not a good fit, but then trying and trying, I found a job as an assistant for a bilingual recruiting company called Interlang Management in the city. So I did that for a year and a half while studying. And then I decided, once I had my associate degree in psychology, which here corresponds to the bachelor degree in psychology. So once I graduated with the bachelor in psychology, I decided to take a break and to get a job in the humanitarian field. I was always attracted to humanitarian ideas and work and jobs. So I found a job as the on-site director of an orphanage in Guatemala.
Oh, what job? I'm sorry?
It's an on-site managing director.
In Guatemala. Wow.
Guatemala. So that was in 1996, and I went there and I managed it. It was the hardest experience of my life because of so many different things, and we don't have to get into it now, but it was definitely the most beautiful yet hardest experience of my life.
Because let's pause for a minute. You left France, you moved to the US, you fall in because of you fall in love with your then husband, who became your husband. You try to adjust to the American way of life, and then you decide to go to South America, to Guatemala.
Yeah. It's something I had always wanted to do. And the truth is, I really love America, meaning the United States. There is really, there are lots of really, really good things about it. Definitely a sense of being able to be who you are without judgment. And that to me is very precious, definitely. At least where we are. You know, the States, the United States is a big country, so I don't, it's not, I know it's not like that everywhere, but where we live, we're very lucky that way. Um, and yeah, I really wanted to try that.
So you went to Guatemala, and what happened when you were there? How long were you there?
I was there for almost a year. So
Wow.
I managed all the counselors for the kids.
Okay.
I also managed the kitchen staff, the laundry staff, the maintenance staff, all of whom were Guatemalan. And so at the beginning, it's hard because you are a young foreigner woman who's going there, maybe taking a job that could have been given to one of them. So it took me about 3 months to earn their trust as somebody who really wanted to do right by them, by the kids, but also with respect to their cultures and to their habits.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was to learn the language. That was crucial.
How was your Spanish? How was your Spanish at that time when you moved to Guatemala?
Terrible. I had taken 5 classes at
Oh,
the
wow.
continuing ed. So the first thing I did was register at a school in Antigua. So I had a whole week of 4 hours of private tutoring with a 10-minute break, really, from 8 a.m. to noon with a private tutor. And I stayed with the family. And then after that, she would slam me with homework.
Okay.
To do it for the day after.
So just not that I want to cut you off because
No,
there's a lot to unpack. You stayed in Guatemala for a year and a half. And then you decided to go back to the US. And the experience in Guatemala, what happened between the moment you arrived and you left? What are the 3 to 4 changes that happened within you?
That's a good question. The first thing that happened is that my job consisted of working on the administrative side of things,
Okay.
accounting, administering, managing, regulating, logistics and meetings, and also regulating the connections between the people, because you had Collins and then you had international volunteers. And around the orphanage, there were a lot of American marinas with a lot of people who came from the States. So what I decided is that I would fundraise money by singing. And what I did for the kids is that I started singing. And I really had to come to terms with the fact that I was not made for administration per se. It's something I can do. But music is really the thing that I'm always drawn to, and there isn't just no escaping it. So that's one thing that when I came back, I said, okay, enough is enough. I need to accept that this is what I'm supposed to do. This is who I am. And this is what I can bring to the table because it made the kids really happy. So this is how I can help. And then the second thing that came out really clearly in my head was the language. The only reason why I was able to earn the respect from Guatemalans was the way I led the job, for sure, my job, with respect to them. But it's also because I learned their language really fast. And it's not because I'm good at languages or anything like that. It's not like that at all. It's because I absolutely and completely committed myself to learning the language. Like Nelson Mandela said, you speak a language that the person knows, you talk to their head. But if you speak a language that is their language, you talk to their heart.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah. So these are the two things, the two takeaways, not things, two takeaways major takeaway from your trip in Guatemala. So for those who just joined, so I know we've been speaking mostly in English. I don't know if anyone doesn't understand English, just say, just put French. If not, we're going to continue in English. Today, comment?
Non, je dis oui, parfait, on peut parler français.
Voilà, mais bon, maintenant je ne sais pas qui c'est qui est là, mais bon, il y aura de toutes les façons un replay. But today we have Armelle Gloaguen, who is the owner of Armelle for Kids. So the topic is how a French music school owner was able to build a bridge between languages and music for kids in the US. So now you spend a year and a half in Guatemala. You're back in the state. Westchester? At that point, you were already living in Westchester?
Where was I living at the time? Yes, I was already living in Westchester because my ex-husband's family was from here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So between the time you came back from Guatemala, fast forward, between the time you came back from Guatemala and the launch of your company, how long was it and why?
About 4 years.
About 4 years.
Yeah, it wasn't instant because I came back and I had there was such a big change that I really wasn't sure that what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music, but how? I had no idea. So I tried to be more corporate, and that just was not happening. I helped my ex-husband with this company, setting up the administration, all the administrative skills that I learned at the orphanage and before that in the recruiting management company. I figured, okay, let me do this, at least I can help with that. So I did that. And then finally in 97, I met this wonderful woman. Her name is, she's had a lot of names. Susan Spivak. Her name is Susan Spivak now. At the time, it was Susan Locke, aka Fritzy for the kids. And she had a music activity, music classes for early childhood in Larchmont. And her school was called Fritzy's Treasure Chest. And that's what I mean. When you're here in the States, but I think it's the same in any country, though, if you really want it, right? You go to community centers, you look at information, and then you grab opportunities. You just have to be ready to grab those opportunities. And
when you prepared.
I saw a flyer, and so I went to her open house, and we clicked. She thought I was a mom. I said, no, I'm not a mom. I'm a singer, and I would love to work with the kids. See, I was curious. I was really just curious, because at the time, I really wasn't sure or how I could work with the kids in the States. And I auditioned. She hired me. I learned the English curriculum because I knew the French curriculum for young children, but not in English.
Can you please explain a bit, because now we're getting into the topic of what you do. When you said the French curriculum as a second language, to teach as a second language?
No, not yet. So in France, I got the BAFA. It's a diploma. It's a degree. Here you go. It's a certification, a degree in early childhood education, specializes music and theater. And actually, my specialization was music and theater, but not specifically for early childhood. It was for children from 4 to 10.
Okay, I understand.
So, it was still different. But because of that, I knew the songs in French, the songs used in music education in French, in France. So I didn't know it in English. I didn't know those songs. So I learned those songs with Fritzy. In the meantime, I also started teaching French at a company called the Language Exchange, which was and she gave me the young kids. And first I was like, oh my God, the 4-year-olds, they move around everywhere. What do I do? How do I do this? The regular approach is just not working. It's, they're bored out of their mind. They're not really learning the way they need to learn, the way they need to be immersed themselves in. Now I'm thinking in French. And so that's when the idea came to use the curriculum, the songs that I learned in English, translate some of them in French, so that way the kids wouldn't be thrown off when I started singing songs in French. Like, oh, wait a minute, I know the wheels on the bus. This is the same song. It's just different sounds, different. So let me do that. So then I started building up, translating songs, adapting traditional songs like Alouette, gentille alouette, alouette, je te plumerai. Instead of doing the bec, then you say le nez, la bouche, and adapting those traditional songs for the purpose of teaching the language. And it caught on. It started really well. I started offering the program at the time called Les Enfants Musicaux. in Fritzy space, and it was really catching on. And then she decided to retire. I was so
And
heartbroken.
and so before she retired, what age group the children were?
They were 6 months. They started at 6 months and all the way to four.
So
The,
what's
yeah, five.
okay. So question, because this is a conversation that I have with some how do you call that, bicultural couple,
Mm-hmm.
where some of them, and I think one of them is that I know is on is on the live, where oh, my child is, because the child is exposed to 2, 3 languages, so obviously it takes a bit more time for the child to master, let's say, the language that the country lives on.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a bit about that? Because my thing is, because I've been surrounded by bicultural children my entire life, those children, they're sponges. They tend to learn very quickly, even if it takes them a bit more time to master one language. Can you please say something, because you have a degree in psychology, so I want to say it online, so you're not doing this just as, oh, I speak several languages and I'm going to teach children. You actually have a degree. So can you elaborate a little bit, Armelle, on that?
That's fine. Yes, children, when they're very young, only learn by sounds and rhythms. So they can
Sounds and rhythm.
sounds and rhythms. So they can assimilate any sound and any rhythm as long as they are exposed to them. That's why music is so good for them, and that's why learning languages comes very easily to them. And so the more synapses are created in their brain, the faster they can learn and the more they can learn. And they're just sponges. It is really a correct term. They are sponges. A child will not get confused by the languages that they learn, even if it's 2, 3, or 4, unless there is already a basic linguistic issue, which is not connected to the number of languages he or she learns, but it is connected to a processing disorder of language, no matter what language and what languages it is. So sometimes they can be also a social connective disorder. I'm not quite sure what the actual term is, but it means that children need to be able to connect a certain way, and that's their social makeup. That's the way they approach social interactions. And in
Mm.
this case, the language can get in the way. It's very rare. That is very rare. In all my career, I've seen 2 children that way, who
Okay.
the parents had to give up their second language in order for the child to thrive socially.
Okay.
That's
So, but overall, a child being exposed to several languages is actually better.
oh, it's awesome. And there is a little delay, but that's okay. It's normal because at the end of that delay, the child comes out speaking, not understanding, not just understanding, but also speaking, which is very different because there are 2 different parts of the brain. You know, there's one part of the brain, one side of the brain is for comprehension, and the other side of the brain is for speaking, which is why it's important to have the oral, the verbalization of the language very early on. And as long as those are made very early on, they do not get confused. The
Okay.
only moment they will get confused as well, and that's on the parent side, is if a parent switches back and forth. The
Oh,
child identifies the language to the person who speaks it, not to the place. So if I come to you and I'm teaching you French, I can't switch to English all the time. You know, I
very
have to
good.
stick to French. And
So
yeah,
just I understand, and what you're saying is absolutely true. Let's say that there's 2 parents. If one parent is a French native and the other one is an American native or an English speaking native, each parent should just be disciplined, because I said discipline because I know it's hard to
it is.
stick to one language. The one parent stick to the French native, and the other one to the English.
Yeah. And it's really cool because I raised both my children bilingual. And one day, Trevor must have been, I think, 2 years old, 2.5, very young. And I happened to ask him a question in French, and my ex-husband asked him a question in English. That did not faze him at all. He answered yes, no, and that was that. Like, he just got both questions at the same time in different languages and answered, switch, no
Okay.
problem. And another amazing example is this same thing. I think she was almost 3. This little girl would come to class with a Chinese nanny, and at home she spoke French, Chinese, and then English is the language of the country you live in, right? So this is the what we call the dominant language. Um, the nanny wanted to tell us something, but we couldn't understand, so we asked her to translate. So she translated from Chinese into French, and then there was one mom there, so we started translating in English, and the little girl took over and translated in English to the other. Brilliant. We have a 3-year-old translating everything for us.
Well, this is super important that you're saying that, because I think that is a lot of perceived ideas of people who see languages as something that can disturb the growth of the kids. Basically, what you're saying, that no, it's not.
No, and you know what? I started offering webinars for parents because I see that a lot of parents want to raise their children bilingual, but they don't know how, and they're confused, and then they're scared. And then when they're scared, that's when they start making mistakes. I mean, isn't it true for everything, every situation anyway? It's when you're scared that you start screwing up.
So I'm going to tell the audience, please, if you want to learn more about Armelle, please go to her website. It's going to be shared during our replay. We also have, a giveaway. You're giving one free consultation. So in order to win the consultation, you have to follow Armelle, you have to follow my page, and you have to follow my agency, ep.5 agency. So please, I think the giveaway ends, I don't know, I don't know if my team is online, but Thursday. So just make sure that you follow us. So let's talk about Armelle for Kids, because I love the mission of Armelle for Kids, which is really to build bridges, right, between cultures through music from around the world. So when you launched Armelle for Kids, when did you launch Armelle for Kids? What year?
So, okay, the school itself, which was originally called Armelle's Language Studio, was formed in January 2000.
So it's been 20 years plus.
Yes, exactly.
So you had time to really build experience, transformations, and I want to hear about what it is that you offer and what type of transformation that you offer, either to parents or to children, and why we should go to you.
First of all, because I love it, and their kids absolutely connect to that belief that, I'll walk around the supermarket and I'll stop in line, and then there'll be a kid in the carriage, and smiling and saying hi, and so children connect to that, and that's super important. And the teachers who work with me, I don't like to say for me, because we really work together, all have that passion. So that's super important. I don't hire teachers who are not passionate about their jobs.
So can you give us a bit quickly, who are those teachers? I believe the profile of your teachers, they need to play an instrument, because obviously it's through music. Can you give us a bit of an insight?
So there are 2 kinds of programs. There's learn a language through music. So we specialize in French and Spanish. And then the other program is called Rock Your World Kids, which is a multicultural music program that we offer at schools, YMCAs, and also in pubs now since COVID. So for the program Rock Your World Kids, the teacher has to know how to play an instrument, preferably the ukulele or the guitar, because it allows for better, faster interaction with the kids. If you have the keyboard, if you're stuck behind it, it's not as easy. But then again, it depends on the personality of the teacher, right? Some teacher will interact with kids no matter what instrument they play. So for the multicultural music program, yes, the teacher needs to know an instrument. For the programs Learn French the Music and Learn Spanish the Music, the teacher does not need to learn an instrument, because we have all the soundtracks that are provided, and the key skill that the teacher needs to have, is a very good knowledge and zut, comment on dit en anglais
Quoi?
ah,
Quel est le mot en français?
mais je me rappelle même plus en français non plus là. Ça y est, c'est parti.
So the teacher,
Maîtrise,
hein?
une excellente maîtrise of their own language, which is not a given. You know, it's not a given. So that's important. And then also the love to work with young children, which means that you have to be silly, but you also have to be very focused on the way you break the sentences and the way you illustrate the words and the verbs and the sentences, the sequences, in order for the children to understand and follow you. And then you have to know that, yeah, to know when you need to make them repeat, when you need to motivate them, when you need to be also a psychologist because you need to know when they start feeling frustrated, you know, which can be because lots of times kids take classes only an hour a week, and that's not a lot.
And what is the transformation? What is the transformation of the children that have been over the years who have been taking classes through Armelle for Kids?
So there are two kinds of transformations. One of them is cultural, and the other one is linguistic. So the first transformation, which is the cultural one, is always there. I see kids whom I taught 20 years ago, and now they're in college, and they're like, Armelle, I stuck to French, and I love French, and I'm going there. Or, oh, I love French, and you know, it helps me with Spanish and Italian, and these people, these kids, have an open mind to learn and understand other people. They're not closed-minded, like this is the way it is and there's no other way. No, they're going to look at the situation that they're in and look at other people and ask themselves, why do they do this? I don't understand it. Why is, you know, why? And I'm going to look for the answer. So that's different, completely different attitude.
Okay.
That's cultural transformation.
So I've known you for a couple of years, and I've known you BC. We call that BC, before COVID.
Oh, I was like, what?
I've known you. So your business was really, you were serving a lot of the community around Westchester, Connecticut, because this is where you live. And then boom, March 2020, COVID hit. What happened?
Oh boy. Okay. I went in overdrive first of all because I thought if if I can't teach, there's no work. And then I'm thinking, there's no work, but and also the kids, what are they doing? They must be going crazy inside. That's just not possible. We can't just let that happen. So I decided to do a free half hour online every morning. And I told the parents and I let everybody know. Some classes we had scheduled at schools, and I told the parents, I said, we're not stopping. We're moving online. And the hardest part was to learn all the technological side of things. You know, I had to learn all the stuff. And that was super hard because you didn't need it before. And now you did. So a lot of parents were very, very grateful for that. And I was just so happy to see that the kids could connect still through the screen, and then we would find instruments in the house, and we would, you know, create hide and seek game on the computers. And
so how long, I'm curious because this is a recurring question that I ask all my guests, how COVID, especially when you're an entrepreneur, a small business, how long did it take you between the world shut down? I think in New York, I think by March 17th, that was it. You could not go anywhere. So how long did it take you to say, okay, I have to go online? So a month, 2 months, a few weeks?
no, right away.
Right away.
So in times of crisis, my brain just switches on, and I just go for it. I talk to the director, and I want to give them a shout out. The Hudson Country Montessori School in New Rochelle was amazing, as well as Anna and Jack's Treehouse, based in New Rochelle and Norwalk and now Pelham. The directors there were unbelievable. Instead of hiding, they said, no, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to move the vacation week. We're going to move it up so we can all learn how to be online. All the teachers basically gave up the vacation week, right, to learn all that new stuff. And the day that we came back, we're all online.
So this is also the beauty, my show is Breaking New Ground, and it's about a lot of immigrants who decided to move to a new country to launch a business. Would you agree that says a lot also about the American mindset, the mindset of an immigrant? Because you said that, in terms of crisis, you just like, no, it's time to find a solution. What do you think?
Well,
Oops, I can't hear you. Ah, je t'entendais plus.
that was my phone. Non, c'est pas
Ah,
grave, c'est
ok.
mon fils qui m'a. And one of
Ah,
my students.
bonjour Armelle, il y a ton homonyme qui est sur
Ah,
le, sur le.
Armelle, ça va? J'ai adoré travailler avec Armelle. Franchement, j'ai adoré. C'est quelqu'un de motivant, de concentré, c'est un leader magnifique. Franchement, je recommande à tout le monde. Hein.
Super.
Ouais, c'est super. Sorry.
Ah, your cat is having.
Um,
a trois.
so, right. So in terms of the mindset, I would say yes. I would definitely say yes. Well, my son is. I would definitely say yes. The mindset is that in times of crisis, you do not let yourself go. And that the Americans have shown times and again, it's true that in times of crisis, you just, what's the word? You just go for it.
This is the beauty. This is the beauty of being live. So shout out to the cat.
Oh, it's my South African flower too. Oh well, that's okay. Nothing broke.
It's okay.
You. And so, but then again, can we say the same thing about the French culture? I think the French culture is a little bit. I think the French culture, yeah, is a little bit more retracts a little bit more. They're more afraid, and maybe that's a leftover from the Second World War. Because I'm reading a book again about it, and there's definitely some, archetypal PTSD that's lingering.
Well, and it's also maybe Second World War too. It's also very cultural. La prise de risque, taking risk is not part of the culture. And when you have to deal with crisis, it's basically you have to take risk because change is really the cornerstone of managing it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So you are saying to me that then everything went online. Now with 2 years post COVID, I mean, I would say it's a new era. So how's your business has been impacted now?
So we lost 70% of our schools. And that's also, that's what made me think a little bit about what
70% of the school, what do you mean?
Schools, of the schools.
Because part of a lot of your business was driven by teaching in different schools.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And some of them are still not accepting outside traveling teachers like us. So they're doing little things online with other, I wouldn't say music educators, but definitely music entertainers. So that's right now, that's what they're doing, which is better than nothing. And some schools, have been really good at switching back and forth, and they're calling us back in now, just now in September 2022. So September 2021, one of the schools that we were going to reopen its doors and accepted us in. And some schools just did not want to deal with online. That's why I had to think about what you were saying, the American way of thinking. That, yeah, in terms of crisis, Americans are definitely great at jumping in and finding a solution. Some schools, however, just couldn't deal with it.
So most of your clients, the schools, they're American school or they're French school?
American.
The American school. So you lost 70% of your business. Have you been actually now going after different type of business? How do you compensate? How did you compensate that loss?
First of all, by working 7 days a week. That's what entrepreneur is about. Unfortunately, when you just have to go with it, and you have to push through, and you just have to work. So I did a lot of online classes for sure. The Alliance Française of Westchester, who went online really quickly, was great. So I do want to give them a shout out. The Alliance Française of Dallas also, with I was just there to do two concerts, and
Mm.
we organized concerts online, so that was, that was helpful. Um, and then just being there and showing up. Uh,
So now
the
you,
the model, I wouldn't say I changed the model, and I'm not reaching out to new clients in terms of the schools, but I'm definitely versatile. So, and pods. I'm sorry. And the one thing that we added is pods. People want pods. So we're launching pods.
when you say pod, can you explain what type of offering is that?
Right. So a pod is when a family is putting other families together, and they know that they're not going to be exposed to all the children of the school, and they create their own class, their own class group, and then you
Mm.
that group. And usually the classes start at somebody's house, the parent's house, and sometimes you switch if one family is sick with COVID, which has happened many times. Then you go to the other person's house, or if it's raining and you're outside, then you go to the person who's got a covered porch.
Mm.
And I have to say, all the families have been so welcoming and great. They showed up in terms of teamwork.
Okay. Well, because now I said that to many of my clients, to build a business, it's also building it around the community that's
Yeah,
around you, especially with COVID. And I think that this is an amazing way to, at least to drive your business, because at least families, they know each other. And it's like a small little community. So 2 years later, from Poitiers to Westchester, New York, to Guatemala, back to the US. You 20 years with Armelle for Kids. I mean, for me, you are. I mean, it's not because you're live with me and that we work together. One of the most knowledgeable teacher for children when it comes to languages, and I really hope that you will. Are you thinking of going outside? I know that you've done a few things in France, so I don't know if you want to share it, that you're trying also to do, because there's also a huge need for that. So you want to share with
yeah.
us?
So in France, I did a couple of multicultural concerts in little schools in maternelle. So,
Where?
but for my nephew, actually, for in
In
children.
Poitiers?
No, well, not far. It's about 45 minutes away from Poitiers, so in the same region. That was really good, and and that's about it for now. But what I am branching out to teacher training, because
Okay.
we need more teachers. We need more teachers who are willing to teach the young ones. And I always say it doesn't matter which language you want to teach, because I don't want to be perceived as the person who is doing, French language propaganda. You have to learn French. No, it's not about that. It's about learning another language in order to have that capacity, that mental capacity, that adaptive capacity, and that understanding that you can reach beyond your own language. You can reach to people's hearts, and you can reach to people's brains and ideas with the language. So
So what I'm hearing from you is that you have this offering, you're doing training for teachers who can actually do what you do. But
exactly,
and that technique that you are teaching can be applied to any languages.
exactly.
All right, for everyone who is listening, first of all, I want to remind people that there's a giveaway. Armelle is giving a free consultation. So go to my page and follow us, Yasmina F. Edwards or If Agency or Armelle for Kids. And second, please DM us or DM Armelle if you want to learn more about this program, which is to teach how to teach languages to kids. Teach languages, right?
Yeah, teach languages at a very young age, because again, people are scared. Teachers are scared of starting early because, oh, they don't talk. I don't know what they're learning. but you don't need to hear it to know that they're learning.
Okay.
And I'm trying to break that barrier so there are more teachers for young children. So
Okay.
I'm here, I'm here and I'm willing to help, whether online and in person. We offer lots of different packages to make it affordable for everyone. And then also we have webinars for the parents to help them raise bilingual families. And again, you're right, those techniques apply to any language.
Okay. So I just want to remind people your website, armelleforkids.com. Am I correct?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. So we always have those recurring questions for each of our show, which are, what would you tell your younger self today?
Oh, to not be scared.
Not be scared.
To not
Okay.
be scared. And to not, I think we hold ourselves back because we're scared that we can't do it, or that we're scared of judgment and criticism. But yeah, don't be scared. Be
Okay.
aware, be conscious of the risks and of, what you need to do in order to go forward, but then do it. Don't be scared.
That's right. And you're one of those. You're not scared.
Well, not anymore, but it's true. I had to learn. And I have to say, my ex-husband, it didn't work out between us, but he did bring me a lot of courage, and a lot of social skills that I didn't get to learn in France, so that French did not provide me. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I would
Well,
tell
I want to say something. Us immigrants, we tend to be super hard on ourselves, but just remember, you left Poitiers, you came to the US, and then you moved to Guatemala for a year alone. So it shows that you have a bit of a courage. So just be gentle to
Okay,
yourself.
I'll try to remember that.
Yes. What is your favorite quote? Ta citation préférée?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Quoi?
Ta citation préférée, your quote.
I think the one from Nelson Mandela that I quoted earlier. It's to me, it's a reminder. It's a reminder of its truth, of the truth
Which
that
one is it? What quote is this?
the one that says when you speak a language that the person understands, you speak to their brain, but when you speak their own language, their maternal language, then you speak to their heart. And I really believe in this truth, because I know that when you can speak to somebody's heart, you create links, you create trust, you create understanding, you create bridges that I would love to see more of.
Okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
What is one of your favorite movie or series? I'm into movie. I'm a producer, so I always ask.
Okay, I'm a Netflix addict, first of all.
It's okay. I used to. Now I'm more careful with my time. That was COVID, but
I know. I really have to be more careful. I haven't watched TV actually for the past 10 days. I'm
good
super,
for you. I'm sure you're more productive.
also more calm. Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I take that back. I did watch a show about nature and about this couple that built a farm out of nothing, and they rebuilt the soil. And that was so beautifully done. That was on Disney Plus.
Oh,
So yes, I take that back. I did watch that. So, but my favorite shows, I don't have a favorite show.
film.
And my favorite movies
Un
are
film qui t'a marqué. Something that you just remember, even when you were young.
de Moulin Rouge.
Laquelle version? The one with Nicole Kidman? Oh,
Ouais, elle est super bien faite. Cette version est formidable. Elle est géniale. Elle est belle visuellement. Elle est romantique. Elle est poignante. Elle est.
donc
C'est.
Moulin Rouge from Nicole Kidman. Okay.
Ouais.
Ton restaurant favori, your favorite restaurant? And we're going to remain. I try to ask my guests to choose a restaurant within the community, because, as I said, since COVID, that's what I tell my clients. We're working on. We're trying to support each other around our community. So, anything in Westchester that you would suggest?
Can I pick two?
Yes.
All right. So I'll pick two. One of them is in New Rochelle. It's called Alvin and Friends, and they have Caribbean food.
Okay.
Their brunch is out of this world. And
Okay. I've never been, but I'll check it out. Okay.
So, and they have these amazing, beautiful paintings painted by the owner,
Okay.
and they have music, they have blues and jazz, and it's just beautiful.
Okay.
And the second one is French, and it's the Encore Bistro in Larchmont. I love their French fries.
I
That's
think
why.
I've been there. So these are your two. Okay. And lastly, the Breaking New Ground show is about an immigrant who chose to move to a new country to launch a business. Tell
Right.
me two things about what it means to be an immigrant. I mean, you're an American citizen too. I am as well. But, we're not born here. So we still are very different. So two things that define you as an immigrant.
Two things
Or one thing as a
well,
business owner, that mindset.
right. Um, Creativity, for sure. I think all immigrants have to be creative and they have to be out there. The fear factor, you have to kind of be fearless, conscious, like I said, but fearless. Creativity, and it's weird, but French.
French.
Yeah, like the thing that defines me as an immigrant is the fact that I'm French. I realize that as a French immigrant, my opportunities are higher than others. I recognize that.
Higher than others, like who?
Like,
Like what other communities? Because I'm guessing you're making a comparison.
I am because I see it. I wouldn't be making it if I didn't see it. For example, immigrants from African countries, I can see they just don't have the same opportunity as I am. As a French person, at least here, Americans are always happy to see me. You know,
Yes.
I can do whatever I want. And, not being rude. And I also hold myself to a high standard of behavior and politeness and kindness. That's very important. But I think that somebody with those same standards from Africa, and maybe from other countries, okay, I'm not saying just Africa, but maybe from other countries, don't have that same easiness, if that makes sense.
So yes, it is. It does make sense, and it's very interesting that you're saying that because here we are doing an Instagram live. We're
Yeah,
actually both French. We were born, coincidentally, we were born in the same city, which is
yeah,
Poitiers, and we live in the same county.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm also an immigrant here. Do you think that I had the same opportunity as you?
Yes, because you are a fighter.
Yeah, I am. I am. But do you think that because I am French and black, I had more opportunity? Because let's be clear, and we're not going to get into this conversation. That's
Right.
not the place. But since you brought it up, and my name is Yasmina, and you work. I'm Yasmina Edwards, and I work on this issue. I'm a French black woman, and you're a French white woman. That's really the question.
I think it may have been harder for you. I
Okay.
so I do, and I recognize that because again, I see it in my work. There are not many Black French people working in my field, even though there are lots of them,
Hmm?
speak beautiful French, and they may not be um, French. Lots of them, maybe from Haiti, and they speak a beautiful French, and I'm not sure they get the same opportunity. Or maybe I'm not seeing it, but I that's my feeling. And
No,
maybe
I
I'm
think that we're friends. So I don't think what you're saying is wrong, and I appreciate your honesty because it's also a way to check your privilege, and that's really the beauty of America is that having opportunity to check your privilege. So it's and that's the reason why I'm doing Breaking New Ground show because being an immigrant, we have different stories and our stories, yes, is tied into our willingness to succeed because we moved to another country, but how our fight, our struggle, and our willingness to succeed is being received and translate into success, you know, that's
that,
probably, I'm
that's
sorry.
No, you're right. I was just going to add on to that, where that is another factor that impacts your success. I mean, it's there. It's the truth. It's right there. Um, and then it depends on the industry you're into, maybe. I mean, I'm not an expert at all, so I can only witness what I'm seeing in my industry. Um, yeah, I wish more people would call me,
But
actually.
listen, America, despite everything, and that's how I'm going to end it. I'm sure you will agree with me. Is still a country where there is opportunities for anybody,
Oh,
as long as you're willing to put in the work. So I think that we all need to agree on that. There's opportunities for anyone as long as you're willing to put in the work.
absolutely. And the attitude overall that you have will always make a big difference. I've seen that Anna and Jack Treehouse just joined,
Mhm.
and talk about attitude, like winning attitude. They are the school that was just amazing during COVID. They just had the attitude of, we're not going to let this thing beat us down. We're going to stay open. We're going to be there for the kids. We're going to be there for the parents. I mean, these directors are amazing. They have 3 schools in Norwalk, Pelham, and New Rochelle, and they have that winning attitude, and that kindness also. I think that's also very
Yeah,
important.
kindness.
Yeah.
Kindness matter. Anyway, I want to thank everyone. I see new people are joining in. Merci de vous être rejoints au live. Aujourd'hui, mon invité, c'était Armelle Gloaguen, la propriétaire de Armelle for Kids. Si vous voulez en savoir plus sur ce qu'elle fait, elle enseigne les langues à travers la musique aux enfants. C'est une immigrante de Poitiers, comme moi, qui est installée aux États-Unis depuis 20 ans. So, if you want to participate si vous voulez gagner le concours, if you want to participate in a giveaway, j'ai dit concours, follow us, Yasmin, my page, Yasmina F. Edwards, my agency, IFE Agency, and her page, Armelle for Kids. Et merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Armelle, for
Merci.
being.
C'était vraiment un plaisir d'avoir cette conversation avec toi. Ça, c'est un truc avec toi. On a toujours des conversations super intéressantes et j'adore.
Bah écoute, je suis ravie que tu aies accepté d'être mon invité. Le but de Breaking New Ground Show, c'est justement inviter des gens avec qui j'aurai une conversation en dehors du live et je le partage avec tout le monde. Donc, I'm super excited. Thank you all for joining Breaking New Ground Show, episode 5. We're gonna post the highlights, I think tomorrow, anyway, this week. Just follow us and the replay will be available soon.
OK. Au revoir, à bientôt.
À
Bye.
bientôt.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Merci beaucoup.
Je t'en prie.
Au revoir.
Bye.